No question, no question, Freddie. I think that's a great analysis. No, my thing is this. I look at it from a Bulls fan perspective. I was definitely one of the teams that I thought had a chance to get that guy, but didn't. So my pain, my hurt is a little something different because had LeBron signed with the Bulls, you would not want to see Derrick Rose, LeBron James, Luol Deng, if they even signed Carlos Boozer, and Joakim Noah walk in that gym. I think that's a team that could have won 70 games. But with that being said, I've kind of gotten over that, and I really look at the LeBron James thing as one of the most unselfish things that a player in
Yep.
his position could have done. And I think it goes more to his style of play. He is more of an unselfish guy. He can get his whenever he needs to, but one of his strengths, as Scottie Pippen was kind of blasted for with the comments he made, is that he does get other guys involved and he does make other guys better. Now, I'm going to put
Yeah.
you in the GM chair for a minute, Freddie. Being a Bulls
Right.
fan, I've got to know this, and I've kind of, played around with this in my head. We've kind of posted this in a sports critic group page. I want to ask you, if you're a Bulls GM or someone in the front office, do you think that a guy like J.R. Smith would be a good fit to slide in right next to Derrick Rose at that two guard spot? And if not him, who do you think would be a good fit?
That's a really good question. I don't think J.R. Smith is that answer because I don't think he makes the Bulls team better, to be honest with you. I know he can score points in bunches off the bench, but if he's not scoring, he's a liability. And if you're going to play for Tom Thibodeau, you better know how to not only play defense, but you better know how to spell defense. And I don't think J.R. Smith can really do that. So I think that's
Wow.
going to be a detriment. I'm not saying, I'm just saying, guys, but look what he does. When he scores, he's good, and the team is good. When he doesn't score, he's a liability. I think the track record of J.R. Smith, that has been shown in the playoffs, and it showed in the first round against Oklahoma City. He's not making shots, and he was sulking all over the court. The guy that the Bulls need, you're right, is that guy LeBron James, but he's not leaving Miami anytime soon. I think if you're Chicago, you have guys, you have pieces in place, whether it's Luol Deng, Joakim Noah, Derrick Rose. But whoever that number two scorer consistently has to be, I think he has to be somebody on the inside because you have enough perimeter players that can make shots from the outside. I mean, Keith Bogan's not going to be the greatest two guard in the world, but he's serviceable. The question is, with the NBA lockout, how much salary cap space do they have to go after the guy that they want? Because to me, the perfect guy for this team that could be that number two guy is Russell Westbrook because he's better off the ball for me than he would be on the ball. But he wants to be the alpha male. He does not want to be the second in command of Derrick Rose, and that's what's going to happen if they decided to go after somebody like that. So whoever that guy is, the Bulls have to get in the draft or free agency. That person has to understand that being a number two guy is not a bad thing. The question is, do they go after another number two perimeter player, or do they go after somebody inside who's a lot bigger and a lot tougher inside than Carlos Boozer?
Absolutely. We're speaking to Freddie Coleman of ESPN Radio. This is Drew Patton, sports critic again, and let's kind of change gears here for our final segment here to ask some NFL questions real quickly. Of course, you kind of mentioned the NBA lockout here just a second ago in comparison to whether those guys actually get signed, or at least signed to J.R. Smith. I want to ask you about the NFL lockout. How viable is, or at least do you really see this season kicking off? I know that we got players working out and, hoping that the season starts. But in your opinion, in your expert opinion, I would say, do we have a season this year, just point blank?
Maybe I'm Mr. Eternal Sunshine of the Optimist Mind guy. I still believe that both of these entities, the players and the owners, will come to their senses and realize that so much is at stake outside of $9.3 billion that they're trying to divvy up amongst themselves in any way, shape, or form. I just maybe believe that they're going to get a deal done. But I think the more we don't have any communication, I think that's a problem. And this Friday, D-Day, is June 3rd, when that decision is going to be made if the lockout should be lifted or if the owners are allowed to keep it. If the owners make a counteroffer, and it seems like the owners have done that, then if you're the players and if you don't do the same thing, whatever the court of public opinion was on your side is going to completely turn against you. Because I know if I'm a fan, and I've heard this from the players about we want to get a deal done, the owners won't sit down at the table. Well, if they put an offer on the table and you don't make a counteroffer, then you're sending a bad message from your union to the fans. So like I said before, guys, I'm going to be eternally optimistic and thinking that both of these sides are going to come together and get a deal done. But the more we don't have any communication, the less I'm really confident that either we're going to have a season that starts on time or we're going to have games taken away from the regular season. And if you're the National Football League, why would you want to do that? You are the biggest sport in the country, and at the rate you're going to be as big overseas as well because plenty of NFL fans live outside of the United States and they want to see their NFL football either on TV or on the computer. Why would you risk killing that golden goose on principle. You can't tell me there's not a way to figure out how you two, the players and owners, can divide $9.3 billion and make that an equitable deal for both sides. If the owners put that counter offer on the table, and by all indications that I've heard, they've done that, the players can't just let that sit there without any communication and any progress being made to get a deal done.
Well, Freddie, I appreciate that, my good man, and I'm with you, man. I'm gonna be on the optimistic side of it. I need my football, man, on Sunday, Monday, Thursday night, whatever day they decide to play. I'm tuned in, baby. But look, we had a lot of interesting developments in this past NFL draft. One thing I'm curious to see is which of the quarterbacks that was drafted early, late, or what have you has the best chance of being the next Matt Ryan, Joe Flacco, Mark Sanchez, from the standpoint of coming into a team that's got a pretty good core already established, can kind of maybe hide some of their deficiencies until they fully develop, get a depth to the NFL game. Who are some guys that you think may actually go into those type of situations?
One guy that no one's talking about is Colin Kaepernick, drafted in the second round by the San Francisco 49ers. Not too many guys go to a football team in which you have a top-flight running back in Frank Gore and a guy who I feel is going to be a top-flight wide receiver in Michael Crabtree, and you have one of the best tight ends in football in Vernon Davis. And that 49ers offensive line is young, nasty, and ornery. Perfect guys to piss off the opposition, and big, exactly, and big, which means they can run the football and pass block. And the defense led by Patrick Willis, there are no slouches in the ring. So people aren't talking about Colin Kaepernick or nothing. He's stepping into a ready-made situation with a new head coach, Jim Harbaugh, who understands the West Coast offense. Colin Kaepernick is a very, very bright guy, has a great arm and great ability as well. So I think that's the one guy, when the lockout is settled, that would not surprise me if he gets into the starting lineup, because they're not enamored of Alex Smith anymore, that he'll step in, make some plays early. Not like Sam Bradford of St. Louis. I think Sam Bradford's going to be a top-flight quarterback within another year or two. But that's the perfect offense to have a rookie quarterback step in, can make big plays, but you're not expecting him to make every play because there are enough pieces on both sides of the football that can really help Colin Kaepernick in San Francisco.
Absolutely. You're in tune to the Sports Critic. I'm your host, Drew Patton. We have my man, Freddie Coleman of ESPN Radio on the line, man. One of my radio heroes, man, from a lot of years, just from listening to him. And I'm not just saying that, man. I really mean that, just based on the sports radio junkie that myself, and I know Jersey World is. I mean, just listening to you
Absolutely.
on the weekends and not listening to music, but tuning in to Freddie Coleman and just hearing your takes, man. It's just really a pleasure to have you on. And a couple more quick questions before we let you run. I wanted to ask real quick. You mentioned Colin Kaepernick. Kind of talk about maybe, I guess, what you were mentioning. You were talking about maybe him possibly having a head start because now he's kind of working with Andrew Luck, because it's going to be the same, offense that, Luck ran in college that, Harbaugh's probably going to, implement. How soon does Kaepernick get on the field? And, what do you think his success level will be at the next level, in your opinion?
It would not surprise me by Game 3 or Game 4 that he's on the football field, because the one thing that he has been able to do in these informal workouts that he's been able to have with some of the players is the fact that they understand that he understands the game of football. And I think by having a coach in Jim Harbaugh who looks for the kind of player that Colin Kaepernick is, he may not have dazzled you so much in college at Nevada, but he always seemed to make a play. If he can do that at a small school level, making the jump to the NFL is not going to be as bad, because he was in a pistol offense in which you have to make quick reads at the point of attack and at the line of scrimmage. So that leads me to believe that walking into a situation like that, it's similar to what Sam Bradford had with the St. Louis Rams last year, guys. You have Steven Jackson, running back. The receiving core is okay, but Bradford was able to make plays immediately, and he made those guys better. So you can only imagine what he's going to do whenever the receiving core gets better. And the Rams defense really improved as the year went along. James Laurinaitis was a terrific at linebacker. Chris Long became that pass rusher off the outside. Not saying Kaepernick is going to come in and light the league up the way we saw Sam Bradford do it, or Dan Marino, and to a point Mark Sanchez's rookie with the Jets when he got them to the AFC Championship game. But if you're Kaepernick, you come into a situation knowing that they're not going to set you up to fail, because they want you to succeed. They don't want to have happen to you what happened to Alex Smith when he was drafted by the San Francisco 49ers. They want Colin Kaepernick to be to that football team what Aaron Rodgers has become to the Green Bay Packers. He bided his time, and when he was ready, he was out there. He's been doing his thing ever since. That's the kind of similarity I could potentially see, because the right coaching staff's in place, the right front office is in place in San Francisco, as well as the kind of team you're going to need that you need to succeed and win in the National Football League.
I like that, man. This kid is long. He's athletic. He can make plays with his arms. So I'm on that same ilk, if you will. But this is my next question for you, Freddie. Naturally, with the lockout or the work stoppage, whatever you want to title it as, normally we be talking about OTAs, teams, coming off rookie camps or what have you. We haven't had that luxury this particular summer. So I want to ask you. This is something that I posed in the sports critic group, and everybody that chimed in, they had a different guy at number five. So I'm gonna kind of put you on the spot, my good man. But this is what we're
Mm-hmm.
looking at: top five running backs of all time. I'm really
Ooh.
curious to hear who your number five is, but just off the top of your head, who are the top five running backs in NFL history, in your opinion?
Well, number one still is going to be Jim Brown to me. I think he's not only the greatest running back in the history of the NFL, I think he's the greatest football player of all time. And if he decided to play 3 or 4 more years, he'd have put the running back records out of commission. So he's number one to me. Number two is Barry Sanders, and I still miss that guy playing football. That guy may have been the single most exciting player at any position to play in the National Football League. I have him at number two. At number three, I have Walter Payton, maybe one of the toughest guys to play in the history of the National Football League. Whatever you needed sweetness to do, he was able to do it. At number four, and it may surprise a lot of people because they may not have heard of this guy, but Marion Motley, if you get a chance, YouTube him, was the first big-time fullback to play and succeed in the National Football League, where he opened a lot of holes and set the stage for Jim Brown before Jim Brown got to the Cleveland Browns. One of the great people also, too, in the history of the National Football League, and kind of set that bar that Jim Brown was able to get to. So I would have it at number four. And at number five, I'm going to take Emmitt Smith of the Dallas Cowboys because people looked at him coming out of college and they said there's no way that a guy that short and that slow would be able to succeed. And you can say, well, he had a great offensive line, but he still made people miss in the open field. And for me, that game against the New York Giants for the NFC Eastern Championship, where he beat the Giants on one shoulder in a game that they had to have to get home field advantage, that toughness will always resonate with me. So I have Emmitt Smith at number five.
All right, Freddie, we definitely appreciate the time. And I'm a Titans fan here in Nashville. Just give me 30 seconds on Jake Locker. What do you expect out of him? And, were you as shocked as most of us was that this guy got picked so high?
Yeah, but also, too, I look at draft. When I look at teams' drafts, I look at it 2-3 years down the line. I will say this about Jake Locker. He's going to be better than you think in terms of he has the kind of pedigree that guys like him don't seem to have a ceiling. He's always going to learn. He has enough athletic ability where he's going to learn from his mistakes and learn very, very quickly. And he's a pretty intelligent and bright guy. Not a lot is going to throw him and shake him up to the point where his confidence gets shaken. So he was drafted probably higher than anybody could have anticipated. But mark my words, Druid Sports Critic and Silent Partner, he's going to be better than a lot of people are thinking about Jake Locker.
Well, man, we definitely appreciate the time. And, man, look, like I said, it's been a real honor to have you on the show, considering the fact that, again, you are one of my sports, radio heroes, the guy that I've sat back and learned from, just how to ask questions, how to research, just how to really do this thing, man. So, like I said, man, much love to you. And don't be a stranger. Hopefully we can get you back real soon, man.
Hey, much love to you guys as well. And anytime you guys want me, I want to apologize for missing out on last week. Please accept my apologies on that. It won't happen again. But it was a pleasure for me, guys. And anytime you guys want me back on, feel free to holler at me. I would love to do it again.
Appreciate it, Freddie, man.
We appreciate you, man.
Take care of yourself, man.
Thank you, sir.
You too, guys. God bless.
That's my man, Freddie Coleman of ESPN Radio, showing love to the Sports Critic Show, man. Look, you never know who's going to show up on the show. And like I said, he didn't really have to apologize for last week because I know he was on vacation last week. The guy works a lot of hours. It's no fun to work on the weekends and doing what he does. He and Jonathan Coachman, they do a great job on ESPN Radio, and he's worked himself through the ranks. He's shown us a lot of kindness and just a lot of advice just on the back end. So, again, much love to my man, Freddie Coleman of ESPN
Marion
Radio.
Motley.
Yeah, he did say Marion Motley.
Marion Motley. Okay.
That's a name. That's a name. Like I said, a lot of times those all-time listers, they are hugely subjective. I mean, it's all about who you seen, who you like, who you may have rooted for.
Don't ever forget where you came from
Always
and who led the way before, and they could have been long dead before you were ever born, but never forget them.
Absolutely.
That's huge, man. I mean, just looking at this guy's statistics, he averaged 5.7 yards a rush for his career. Never went over 1,000, but hey, 964 yards rushing in 14 games back in 48. So,
yeah,
hey, big time numbers back then, man.
Absolutely.